exams, how to do that. A lot of people ask, can I do online teaching? I don't know much about the computers. Which online platform to use? Do I need some special preparations for each class? Can I do in the home, in the office? How much cost is involved in that? So all these components are very important when we talk about that. The basic principle or stepping stone we say is the distinction between two types of learnings in the online. Everything is based on this. What you next plan, what you procure, how you implement. What we are doing right now is something like synchronous live webinar. Even you have some serious issue, you can raise hand, we can see, the tech master can see, and he can point to me, this is a question. Even up to the extent that I can allow you to handle my screen. You want to dwell something, you can do that. You want to highlight some point, you can do that. So that interactivity in the live session you can build up. And remember, we are all together at this time. The thought process is accordingly going on. But suppose if you are not able to attend today's webinar, I know this group will make sure that you have the recordings later on. So when you have that recorded version available to you, that is a asynchronous learning, because that you can watch anytime, not in the same time. Anytime you can watch that edited version. And right now you are seeing a live version. So this webinar. So that is the synchronous, that is the asynchronous. Now you have to think about what is your priority in the institution. For some of the assessment, even asynchronous works very well. Some of the interactive lectures, synchronous works very well. A lot of you might have seen these examples. So earlier one, which are here, Google Classroom, YouTube, WhatsApp, which you can use for asynchronous learning. And these mainly, here you can actually try a lot of synchronous learning, although you can also use them for asynchronous. There's not watertight compartments. Zoom, Hangout, Igloo.dot, MS Teams, Moodle, Skype, Blackboard, Collaborate, GoToMeeting, WebEx, and some institution created platforms. A lot of institutions are now working on creating low cost, low resource intensive platforms. Now here we want to see your opinion about that. So what is your need in the online learning? So I request Yuvesh to put the poll one to see the audience response on that. Okay, in the meantime, we continue as the poll comes. So that need will depend on a lot of factors. One is the domains of learning which you are concerned about. Is it a knowledge domain only? Or it is a skills domain? Or it is the affective domain too? I will show you some of the experiences we had with many colleges and universities, the domains which they are working on, the need which they have. Now, this also depends on a lot whether your school is handling undergraduates, postgraduates, or both. The whole need, the whole online learning system changes with that. The UG, you have large numbers. COVID norm is difficult to maintain. You have 150, 200 students. The space is still that. And most of them right now are at the homes. One of the major issue which we are getting is with the student attendance, every institute. They say how to maintain that. Even if they are on, we don't know whether they were there or not. And in the undergraduate, we have a, you can say, curriculum limited to term wise or year wise. So if they lose 2 or 3 months, it affects their year or the term. Versus the postgraduate, where you have a small groups. They are available right now in the hospital. They are working, taking care of clinics, OPDs, wards. But the challenge is clinical teaching, because access to other cases than the COVID, also the risk involved in that. So those are something which are limiting that. And their research work. Most of them have a research work which has a clinical material involved. Since normal other people are not visiting hospital unless they have emergency, so that is getting affected. So there you need to prioritize what you need. If you have only undergraduate, then your needs may be different. And if you have postgraduate too, maybe your needs are different. So differentiate accordingly. What is the need of that? Now, we asked a lot of people about this, what type of classes they are taking. The easiest one they say is the online lectures, which they do a lot. Number of them have recorded lectures or they have a voiceover. But the decision to buy the platforms, remember, that has to be done before. If you are thinking about that you have a two-way lectures, not a one-way lecture, interactivity has to be there. Then think about, even in this theory, which looks easy, you can make them very interesting. On the other hand, the challenging area is the practical and clinical teaching. There are some easy homemade solutions, online content which is available free, and even you can subscribe to some platforms which are there. But people are doing more of this theory lectures, and practical and clinical teaching is quite limited. Now that opens up some areas for you. A lot of people ask, no, we are not able to do. We say, it's okay. It is not that you have to have a lot of things already happening in that area, then you can do. So if you have a less components happening, it means there's a lot of scope now you have. You can experiment with lot of various methods. And here where you're already doing a lot, online lectures, you can innovate onto that to make them more interactive, interesting. So there are a lot of things in both the sides you can do. Remember that is have to build up in the online system which you are thinking about the system or for your institution. Now, this is something which is the biggest challenge right now. Taking a lecture or even a clinical class sometimes even a challenging, but that is happening. Assessment is something people are struggling with that. When they talk of formative at department level, institute level, they can have some online modules at that level, which still can happen. A lot of institutions have online modules. What if it's a summative or university level, then universities are involved and you already have a guidelines. It can be a mixed system, both online and offline, or it can be online system. Number of universities have come up already with the dates and the methods, how to go ahead with undergraduate and postgraduate assessment in various countries. So that challenge is also being taken as the opportunity, and you can have simple things built into that. I will show a few examples also. So most of the people we were talking about, when they are at this stage, they think about the need versus availability. Either they jump into buying something or they suggest. But I will advise at this level, what you have to do is look at this lockdown effect, movement of some of the items. If you're thinking about a big system putting up into the institution, procurement of items, and the biggest thing is investment. You are investing a lot of resources and funds. Remember, in an era where institution funds are squeezing because of the number of patients. So what would be the utility in the new normal post-COVID? Whatever you're investing right now, will you need it for 2 months, 6 months, 1 year? Are you going to inculcate some of that into the new normal? That is a question which you should ask and then invest accordingly. I'm going to share some of the strategies people have used when they have reached this season, what to use and what not to use in the online learning. For communication skills, you have this medical education empowered by theater. So Dr. Satinder Singh, Dr. Amir, they are working a lot on that. You can go to this website and you will find a lot of educational stuff which is there. And you can also go to this website, which gives you some free online platforms where you can see simulation based free modules available. So if you have somebody who is known to you, he can help. So these two people are at home, so they helped each other to show you how to do various components in the COVID era related to all the guidelines which are there in the hospitals right now. Peer-to-peer skill-based simulations are there. So all these things are available. A lot of people have opened up their free contents. Let's go to the next component. When you have reached maybe this stage, you are aware of few of them, you have taken few classes. And after that, what you can do, remember, ongoing discussions in the core group should continue. Training the trainers is something you should think about right now, that how to do that. You want to train the trainers, how to do that. So for doing that, what you need to do is start some webinar series, which Dr. Josna and team has started here. Even you can actually start using other institutions material which they have formed for their training in their institutions. So that can also be used. Apart from that, what you can do is in-depth discussion, as I told you, is very, very important. We found that most of the people, after doing the webinars, so it ends with one webinar. The best advantage you get when you discuss that in the institution, saying which one you need to carry forward, the messages which you get out of these. I'm coming to this something which is very, very important. A lot of questions are being asked out of that. So people ask us which platform to use, which not to use. We're not going to have platforms here today. That discussion will come in the next webinars. One important thing is, as the number of teachers increases, if you have a one teacher taking the class versus multiple teachers, the cost goes up. So you have to build up that into your need, and when you are thinking about online learning. Similarly, number of students, how much? Less than 100, maybe you have a lot of options. More than that, it becomes expensive. Interactivity build up. If you want more control on the videos, for example, you can see a line, somebody can annotate on your PPTs. You want to disable that, how to do? So go for higher versions. Audio issues, which we just saw, that annotation, sharing screen, customizable, where you can put your brand logo. So all depends upon free, trial, and paid versions. Your stakeholder should be given this knowledge. They should know about what is there available right now. Otherwise, a lot of people just jump onto free, then land up in various issues, or they buy something very expensive, do not get the benefit out of that. We are doing a lot in the simulation based teaching. We were actually in the second year of a project where another university was to now do, but now we have shifted to online platforms. Simulation using online platforms. That is working very well. The same principle we are using, briefing, running the actual scenario and the debriefing. But now we are doing in a platform like what we do, something like this. The students are online, videos are on. Okay, then the role division is done. Two people go through the case history. So whosoever are assigned, so when they say others act as observers, and then we end into the debrief. So these things are possible online. In fact, what we saw is attendance is very good in that. Everyone is able to participate into that. This is our another module, which was on the organophosphorus poisoning, which we are again now converting to online. So this type of things are innovations which you can do that. Now think about, if you already have some teaching material developed, why not use them? That's exactly what we are doing. In spite of buying something, investing a lot, use them, use some platforms, and you can make innovations out of that. So we use some communication skills classes, the undergraduate, role play, breaking bad news. So all that is possible these days. This is example of another, if you want to have some softwares, iHuman, which is available. Some components are available free. You can try that also. And we have conducted a number of tutorials also in undergraduate classes. So you can use various platforms in that, WhatsApp groups for making groups, Zoom for sending, or Google Meet with the students join. You can see all of them. Remember, in the tutorial, you are sitting as a group, small group, you don't have a PPT, then Google Meet also works very well in that case. So you can use various methods. Raise hand is inbuilt in most of the platforms, roll number wise, random, whatever. Same method which you are using exactly. Only thing is delivery platform is different. Something like that can be done, and you can assign marks also. We are now using this platform and this method for faculty development programs. As you know, already in India, we are in the second year, going to enter the second year of a new curriculum. This is a very important year. The new batch will go into examination in September, but because the COVID era, that has happened. But so remember, academic schedule is going on time because of that. And we are also training faculty, and the next group is going to train now. The SISP2 is going to start, and we are going to use a number of online platforms in that. It's not possible faculty to travel physically. So this is I will say example of introducing online learning for faculty development at national level. Remember, the levels will different. You can have introducing online learning at department level, institution level, and this is we were talking about at national level. So we thought about maximum up to 40 faculty in a group. Small groups we will have 5 members each. Participants break into room. A lot of these platforms give you an option to break the participants into individual rooms where facilitators can also be assigned. So that becomes easier to handle. So assignment can be auto, manual, and time bound. All options are there. A number of platforms use that. We have used this, and we are now actually allowing everyone to use the technologies like that. And at one place, other people are observing that. So it is not unobserved sort of activity. Remember that. And then they can regroup in a large group for the debriefing. So this happens for number of sessions in the physical and now in the online faculty development programs. So we are doing a lot for training our faculty for webinars, and a number of core groups have been trained. Now another component which comes at this time, midway, we have just done for our institution and some of the other institutions are doing it. You need to evaluate what has happened till now. You can use surveys, discussions with students, teachers, other stakeholders, whatever activities you have done. So remember, learners are important. Students should be involved in that. To know about faculty motivation, workload division, and students' motivation too. I'm just showing you a few examples. So in the interim, we have done those interim analysis, which are in between. Something like you can use Monkey survey as well as Google Forms, which create online survey very easily, and you can send a link to everyone and they click and straightway you get all the results. So we did with our institutions, looking at how much time they spend, which type of classes they take, what are the enabling factors, what are the hindrances they are getting, and the suggestions. So that should be done somewhere. For example, based on that, we are planning to use, in fact, number of other institutions has asked us to use some feedback module. For example, this is an example of a feedback module in pharmacology used on free software hot potatoes. You can also make something like that. So here students actually need to see their responses. The way they respond, they get an answer, whether they click on the right or the wrong option, or something like this. And Google Docs can also be given. You can give cases, small cases, ask them to comment on that. So that can also be used for teaching, learning, as well as assessment. But remember, assessment is a bigger challenge. At number of places, assessments are getting postponed, or there are online open book type of assessments which are going on. But here, this is very important to make the student aware that they are responsible. They also has to share the responsibility for assessment. So their maturity level and integrity comes into play. This we have seen already, UG, PG. But remember here, there are some important components which come into play. Skills teaching. For the postgraduates and undergraduates, both are very, very important. We had some of our webinars earlier, sessions earlier, where they have used video presentation on operative procedures, and some of our clinicians are already using that. So these are the examples from that. And some of them has actually shared that they have converted their rooms in the homes as a patient tables they have arranged, and they have used somebody from the home, relatives, or other known people who are there living with them in a safe environment to show various examinations like how to do a abdominal examination. So all that is possible now. This was also a video of a documenting a clinical encounter, which is being used now by that university for undergraduate teaching. There's some free apps, even the surgical scribe. So virtual surgical procedure you want to try on, you can do that also. So remember, a lot of free apps are available. Much more you can imagine. It's difficult. So many links you get every day. So here also you can see the progress, the starting of learning and the progresses. A lot of people ask them that no, online things maybe for the postgraduates we are not able to. But look at some of the things which you are already doing. Thesis work, they send you on email, you guide them, supervise them, that can continue. Clinical material, you can send them videos, ask them some questions. One college I know, they are using most of the clinical teaching on WhatsApp. The video is started by one of the facilitators, and there are responses from other learners or the students. There's a lot of scope for research. If you see the amount of research which has come in the last 1 month, tremendous amount of papers, and which they say are going to lock down the scientific literature. So much of things are coming up. So there is actually scope. You have a lot of patients where you see a lot of things happening in the next 2 to 3 weeks after enrollment, a lot of data you collect. And because of the certain new guidelines, ethical approvals are happening on a faster mode. So that is also easy for you. So this is another where you can use your postgraduate teaching learning activities, involve them into that. And they are already involved into a service area where they have to use a lot of skills and effective domain. That need also has to be taken care into that. Now prioritize in your institution. You have a lot of postgraduate full program running out, thesis work, research, services. If you have a lot of load of COVID patient already, then I know all the postgraduates will be very, very busy. Then maybe this goes back. But if you have a less of that, maybe this can continue. And some institution I know, the workload is less. Maybe there you can concentrate on extracurricular topics. Lot of places I think this is deficient. You might also experience. So why they take this time to do that? Tips and tricks of medical photography. One group is doing that also. You can actually add a lot of other topics here, which otherwise you could not have done. So that can be done now. Moving on to that only, the steps of introducing online learning. Start, midway, conclusion. Ongoing discussions should continue. Conclusion actually is not a conclusion. We don't know when it will happen, but this is one cycle which can happen. And after that cycle, if you need, after 1 month or 2 months, you have reached one cycle completion, ask these questions now. Involve your stakeholders. Now, based on the class size, some institutions still have 75 students. Others have 300 up to 300 per class. Whether you're planning for 1 month, 2 months, or a year, accordingly prioritize cost effectiveness. As I told you, if you have many teachers using same software, the cost goes up as per teacher or per host. That has to be taken care of that. So you can in fact think about, I know many institutions about what they have done. First year, one software, second year, another software to decrease the cost effectiveness. You need to bargain here. Think about what you need. Yourself look into all those components. Do not go about what they say. They will try to sell everything right now. Most of the world is online. You can see the revenue of one of the top platform is equivalent to 7 airlines. So you can see the amount of competition going on there. Training time. How much your faculty needs time to train on that? The usual I have seen is one link comes from the administration. There's a training for the new software they have bought, and there's a webinar or something. But after that, a lot of people still struggling how to use it. So here you need smaller groups, in-depth discussions on using that, and be careful about that how much training time is needed. If it's too much, you spend 1 month and you find utility is not there much, you have to be really careful about that. As I told you, whether you want to buy one for all departments or a series for 1 year, second year, something like that, or many institutions are getting together to go for a bigger one, or you have something at the university level. That can also be done. A lot of institutions are there. So you need to prioritize here based on these components, whether you want for all departments, many institution, university level, or single departments you want to buy that. So in that way, you can think about when now you're having a bigger decision. Remember that earlier we had a stakeholder discussions. Now we have a stakeholder decision. Whenever stakeholders has to take a decision, they will ask these questions, leading questions. Cost effectiveness is to be something I have seen many places. This is the first question they ask. Our institution buys how much and how much will the utility post-COVID era? So that is something you need to take care of that. So in the meantime, can I ask some of the participants, come back to that question. What is the need, your need? Think about yourself as an individual teacher. In the online learning, what is your need? You can post on the chat, you can raise hand, or you can ask question also, and your answers can be in the direction of that you need only for lectures, you need for clinical classes, you need both for lecture and clinical classes, you need a combination for lectures and practical classes, or you are not sure about that. So let's have your responses on the chat. So if I look at broadly the responses which I got, although more are coming in, majority says both, and some of them said that maybe around 10-15%. Right now lectures, maybe they will ascend on to that. That's a good strategy actually. A number of them said that lectures, both lecture clinical, lecture or practical combinations, and there's also a combination added which is with the assessment. So you can see wide variety of that. So if I classify, so we get something like both, and then you can say triples also, and some of them say lectures. New additions which are there are assessment. Now let me ask a similar question, and then we will see the differences into that. The second question I wanted to ask is, what do you think is the need in your institution for the online learning? So the choices you can think about: the learning management system, what we call as LMS. Do you think your institution need a learning management system, or your institution needs only a video platform? 3, your institution needs something which has lot of clinical scenarios, a platform built up with clinical scenarios. So learning management system, only video platform, clinical scenario platform, and if you are mainly concentrating on assessment, platform for assessment. Let's see the answers which are coming on. Already a lot of you have answered. LMS already in place in some places. Clinical, interactive, you people are very fast. Learning management system, most of you are going for that. Clinical skills teaching is there, and LMS is coming up at the top. Okay, so a lot of answers. And it's full of with the LMS, learning management system. And some of you said a clinical thing, and I don't see anyone who is saying only the video platforms. So it means you also understand that it is not actually, video doesn't mean online platform. There's much more than we are looking into that, where you can maybe post your assignments. People also there, you can park your assignments. So teacher comes and later on they check assigned marks. All those components can be built into that. Clinical skills, I will coming to that also later on. So you see the difference when the question was asked that you want both. As an individual teacher, you want both, and an institution, you want a learning management system. But in the individual wise, assessment was less of people, maybe 10-15%. But we talk about learning management system, assessment becomes one of the major components in that. So that understanding, that bridge of you can gap actually fill up when you learn about these more about LMS. They're expensive, and you need to learn about that. Bit of training is needed on that. They're not easy like starting meeting on other platforms. So that way, but attendance record maintenance, which most of you have asked, is very easy on the learning management system. You don't have to actually do it. It is automatically done. One question which is asked in this series is how to know whether student is attentive or not. Only one platform right now I know, they have a system where you can see. For example, if I'm not looking at the screen, I'm doing something else, the system will detect the attention. So artificial intelligence they have built into that. But other system, it is very difficult. One of my last class, I know one student, it was a rainy day in the area where the student is there. The photo was there, but the photo was not moving at all. So I asked some questions, there was no response. And suddenly maybe somebody might have messaged him, so sir is asking for you. And suddenly there was a video with the same background. So what they do is, when they start your class, they take a snapshot, screenshot, and put that as a profile photo. Remember that. So remember, it's very difficult now for other platforms to know. Somebody logged in, logs out. In between, what happens? Very difficult. Clinical skills teaching. That is a major question which is coming up. It's very difficult. Yes, it's very difficult. I will say it's very challenging. It's not something which is impossible. I have seen a lot of people already started online because they are keeping their academic calendar on time. So using other fellow, one person has used his son to show abdominal examination. The fellow colleagues you can use. And there was innovation on that. When they are doing it, they are asking students to take somebody from their family, brother, sister, or anybody, to repeat the same on that. And if you're on a video platform, you can actually observe and comment on that. So that is there. Now, definitely more questions which are coming is electricity and internet. Remember, definitely that happens. Suppose when I go into the webinar, I make sure I have a separate uninterrupted power supply, the UPS. My internet is also on that. So these problems do. You know, you're going to be doing this for 1 hour. So all electricity cuts and internet speed has to be taken care of in the family. Remember, most of the people are on internet on the family. So maybe when you need a more bandwidth, maybe tell them at that for 1 hour, okay, do something else. That is a common thing that everyone goes onto the internet together. Okay, so that is maybe one of the limitation you can say of the online learning. Okay. For example, we could not run the poll. So I asked you that maybe keep those plans ready with you. Okay. So I wanted to show the experience of the poll. I am sure in next webinar you will see the poll coming up there. And internet speed, I see some of you initially had issues with the audio, but most of them settled down later. Maybe that is also a learning thing which is happening there. When I go to other questions, most of one question is related to course completion. Universities and the institutions have a role in that. As I know, number of universities have already sent notices. The area where I am there, they say the academic schedule is on the time with the online process. Have a balance of that. Right now, you have a more time, maybe for the knowledge part. You're taking more lectures. Clinical, practical, if you think is a challenging, not happening. So keep a balance, shift it to maybe to the knowledge part more. And maybe when it opens up, you have actual students, shift it to that part, practical part more. So try to do that with the resources which you have. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So now I request Dr. Jamal Giri, who is a member of Health Professions Education Core Group at Department of Health Professions Education, BPKIHS. He is going to share the results of the survey which we conducted as a fact-finding survey in order to know what are the needs of the health professions educators at our institute, beyond our institute, and beyond our nation. So I request Dr. Jamal Giri to share the results of the survey. Over to you, Dr. Jamal.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this webinar. In this short session, I'm here to share with you the findings of the online survey, which was conducted by Department of Health Professions Education. That was instrumental in planning this webinar. I have been provided roughly 7 minutes, so I will make it real quick. Please bear with me. So the online learning or learning in a virtual environment was an option for us. But then COVID-19 happened and the rest is history. Now, virtual learning or online learning is a necessity. I'll rather say it's a compulsion and it's no longer an option. Sharing our own experience at BP Corella Institute of Health Sciences, when the lockdown was declared in the last week of March, our academic activities stopped for nearly 2 weeks. But then after 2 weeks, we realized that the lockdown is here to stay and we had our academic calendar to follow. At that point, we decided to start online learning from the scratch. But the online learning was an uncharted territory for all of us. So we started experiencing problems right from day one. At this point, the Department of Health Professions Education stepped in. We wanted to know what were the problems the faculties were experiencing. Therefore, we designed an online survey to analyze the needs of the faculties who were involved in online learning. and we disseminated the survey in the second week of May. I'll now share the findings of the survey. Talking about the survey participants, nearly 2/3 were females, and nearly 130 participants were from Nepal, 25 were from India, and 3 participants, 1 each, were from Australia, Bhutan, and Ukraine. I would like to thank all the participants of the survey. In terms of age distribution, most of the participants were between 30 to 50 years of age group. 30 to 40 and 40 to 50 combined together accounted for nearly 85% of the total participants. Medical, dental, and nursing faculties comprised nearly 90% of the faculties involved in the survey. And in terms of teaching experience, nearly 60% of the faculties were involved in teaching both undergraduate as well as postgraduate level. And when we accounted for the teaching experience in years, we had a mixture of youth and experience. Nearly 20% faculties had a teaching experience of over 15 years, and around 30% faculties were very new to teaching with experience of 0 to 5 years. Academic position-wise, also we had faculties who were lecturers until the faculties who were pretty much experienced and were professors. When we asked them whether your institute was planning or doing any online teaching learning activities, most of them said that they were having online classes, webinars, journal clubs, case discussions, and so on. Some of them were having research projects. They're guiding their students with research projects. Some of them were engaging students through assignments, and few of them were also having orientations for students and teachers alike for online learning. Only 2 participants said that they were not having any online activities. When we asked them if they were trained in online learning, nearly 84% said they were not trained. However, 85% were involved in online teaching, meaning despite not having training, they were giving their best. When asked which was the most commonly used platform, nearly 82% said they were using Zoom. That's why we have also selected Zoom as our webinar platform so that you don't have to download a new app. And another question, when we wanted to know whether the student engagement was possible, nearly 81% said it was quite possible. Up next, we asked them to list the challenges they have encountered. We actually received a multitude of responses, but we have categorized them into 3 basic themes: technical problems, problems related to interaction, and problems related to assessment. Talking about technical problems, since we all were new to technology, that was a major issue. The other things were unreliable internet, frequent power outages, and data security, mostly related to the learning platforms like Zoom. Some of the faculties also mentioned that there was no interaction at all. The teaching was mostly didactic, and there was more distraction, and it was difficult to obtain feedback. Faculties also suggested that there was limited room for assessment, the assignments were plagiarized, and it was difficult to assess clinical skills. Attendance also was a major challenge. We also asked them to list the possible solutions. Most of them suggested that the universities should work on their logistics, like internet and electricity, should provide secure platforms like Zoom, probably full versions. Some suggested universities should develop their own apps for teaching learning activities. Few suggested training for teachers and students. Some suggested that since the teaching was mostly didactic, we could go towards problem-based learning. And a few other faculties suggested providing regular assignments to students to engage them and using clinical simulations for clinical skills. The final question that we asked them was, what would be the webinar topic that you are interested in if we are going to organize any webinar in the future. And these are the results you can see. The most sought after topic was engaging students in the virtual environment. And the other topics were related to introduction to online learning. Some suggested online platforms. Few talked about the assessment in online learning, and some also suggested conducting online PBL. So when we obtained all those results of the webinar, we, the members of the Health Professions Education Department, sat together, I would say sat together virtually, and we finalized the webinar topic. So today we had a webinar on introducing online learning. And hopefully next week we'll have a webinar on online learning platforms. Following that would be a webinar on engaging students, then instructional design, assessment strategies, and finally conducting online PBL. Finally, I would like to thank you all for participating in this survey and being with us in this webinar. Before I end, I would like to say that maybe it's time to find a new normal. And in terms of medical education, online learning is the new normal. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have another speaker who's going to share his experience on online learning at his institute. He is none other than Dr. Hemsagar Rimal. He is the principal of Birat Medical College Teaching Hospital under Kathmandu University. Now I welcome Dr. Hemsagar Rimal to share your experience on online learning. Over to you.
Hello, namaste, and good evening, everyone. Thank you, Professor Josna, for giving me this opportunity to share our experiences of starting online medical education system in Birat. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Hemsagar,
okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay,
Please go ahead.
shall I go ahead? Oh, I'm sorry, this was a real technical glitch. I was off internet and I had to organize hotspot to get reconnected. I think this happens to students as well. So to continue with my experience, we organized a meeting with faculty and management and convinced them that we really needed online medical education system to establish. Management was very supportive, and immediately within a week we had infrastructure set up. The next was faculty. I took a couple of sessions, 2 sessions with faculties, practically demonstrating how to use very platforms like Google. That's what we decided. So we use Google Classroom to deliver synchronous and asynchronous, teaching learning. And then I also checked with the students. They were very happy. They of course, they would love to have their learning with flexibility using digital devices. What they need. They were very happy. So after all of that, the classes are running very smoothly. There are not many issues apart from technical glitches like I had today. And our faculties who were initially a little bit nervous, oh, it's impossible, I can't do it, it's not possible. We offered IT support, couple of IT personnel. I asked them to help them organizing IT lab in the college where from they delivered their lecture. So right now, more than 75% of my faculties, they deliver lecture from home. Only 10, 15 to 20% faculties who are still not very used to, they come to the college and deliver lecture. At the moment, we are running 10, 12 classes every day, online classes. But as time passed, we were quite early on, we started online teaching. And it's been nearly 1.5 months. We started thinking about assessment and teaching clinical skills to the students. Even students started asking that. So Birat Medical College Teaching Hospital is collaborating, working together with Kathmandu University Medical College, and we are running mock practical exam with our student using standardized patient. And we did that 2 days ago using a case of post-strep glomerulonephritis, and the interaction of my students with that standardized case observed by 2 observer and university personnel went perfectly fine in terms of time management and everything. When I asked the student, how was it? And she said, oh, even if it was online, I was giving exam from home, but I had a feeling that I was a bit nervous and I was scared of exam, and I felt like I was giving exam. And we could assess every aspect of that student, including communication skill, asking her to talk to the parents about counseling. So we have a feeling now that even clinical teaching learning can happen through online education, and we were discussing whether we could make couple of 10, 15 or 15 standardized patients who can always be used for online teaching learning purposes. So there is an avenue open now to develop human resources for teaching learning activities through online activities. So to conclude my experience, yes, it was challenging. There are technical glitches in it. Teaching clinical skill is a little bit difficult, but I won't say it's impossible. It's possible, and hopefully we keep on moving further and we will improve. Thank you. I mean, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hemsagar Rimal. Your insight of the institute's practice has really encouraged us to continue what we are doing, and we learn from each other. So that is how we see this webinar, as we are sharing our good practices so that we can collaborate with each other and work towards developing the capacity in online learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So now I request the moderator to put up the questions if you are ready with the questions, the compilation of the questions, so that Professor Dr. Badial can take up the questions one by one. Whenever we are talking about online learning, many a times we get apprehensions to initiate something virtual, especially in terms of teaching learning. So the needs of being equipped digitally, virtually, is the need of the day for us. So, okay, there are queries on attendance, sir. So how do we take care of attendance in virtual learning?
Yeah. Virtual learning depends on the platform. If you have a LMS, if you have a learning management system, attendance is not the issue. The system takes it automatically because the students are logged in through that system only with the assigned ID. However, if you have a free and trial version, you have to make your own innovations. What we have used and others you have used, when students log in, you ask them rename themselves as the roll number. There's the option to rename yourself. So first it will be the roll number, for example, 45, followed by the name. When they are on, you have a participant list in front of you. You take a screenshot or a photo on your phone. You get all of them together. So that is one way you can use. If it's a smaller group, even you can take a photograph of the screen.
Thank you so much, sir. There is another question by Dr. Surya Rimal. Is there any tips or tricks to overcome the technical difficulties we face now and again in online learning?
Yes. Always keep 2 connections ready. Both should be on. Already the system should have the password for both. When one goes off, Zoom has the advantage that if you reconnect to another, it will rejoin, help you to rejoin the meeting. Even if you disconnect, it will rejoin the meeting. So UPS, you don't have to have the whole house on the UPS. Just take 1 kV kilovolt UPS. That is sufficient for your webinars. So I highly suggest people, that is not very expensive. Even in the home, you can keep one for this time. later on you can use it anywhere. Remember that. Internet speed, even if now you are in a higher package, you will get a medium or low speed only. Remember that. So for this period, you must shift to a higher package, at least to get a bandwidth which is there in the medium or lower package. Otherwise, very difficult.
So we have another question from Madhav Lamsalsa. He's the head of the Department of Biochemistry. He says if the online has to go on, there will be more interface between the medicine and the IT. So what has been your practice in the institute? How are you working collaboratively with the IT department in order to provide medical education through online?
So we are very well collaborating. The role of the IT is limited to, you can say, handle that platform. For example, we don't take attendance. They are doing that part. They send it to the principal office or the dean office. So as a teacher, I'm not worried about that. I am worried about teaching and learning activities. So if the IT department can do, that's very well. But you are very right, clinical teaching. I don't see much difference in the teaching. Remember, only the delivery platform has changed. I give you one example. I use a lot of Blackboard in my classes and very few PPTs, only for showing some animation or so, video. In the online also, I am doing same. So number of times I'm not using PPTs. I use whiteboard. Most of the platforms has a whiteboard, but I advise you for that, you need either a touchscreen laptop or you should attach your laptop to iPad, which you can keep on a table and then write on it. Then it's easier. Writing with the mouse on the screen is not easier. So I do a lot of, you can say, Blackboard teaching on the online media. So I'm not teaching, I'm not changing the way I'm teaching. That is same. Even the interactivity I build up, that is the same. I'm using polls, I'm using questions, I'm using triggers. Only thing is delivery platform has changed.
Thank you, sir. In continuation with the previous question, Sir Lamsalsa also talks about the unhealthy competition between the institution and the web service providers. So what has been your experience, or can you highlight on these issues?
Yeah. So for example, when we wanted to go through, we had a lot of people coming us, giving us a free trial version for a month and a month. And number of them, we could not actually even try. There's so many nowadays. You're very right. The money which is involved right now is very huge in the web portals. I told you the top one is equivalent to 7 airline companies. You can imagine the funds which are flowing. So the competition is there, unhealthy competition happens. And that's why you will see some positive publicity, some negative publicity happening up. But I think most of the people, the percentage will show you why they're preferring one platform. Because of the ease of using it and the convenience. That's why people use it. And till now, what I have seen is people are not, remember, these people are not able to meet you physically. They call you or send an email. So there's a difference. Suppose it has been a different time, they visit you, meet in your offices, then they influence a lot of people, right? So that unhealthy thing has not come into that. So it's your choice to open the email, try their trial version, take their call or not. So you are the decision maker right now.
Thank you so much, sir. There is another question on how to interact with the students in the given 1 hour or 2 hours of the time frame. So how to make it interactive through virtual learning.
Okay, I see, I think the 3rd or 4th webinar is devoted to that. So I will not go much about that, but what we are using, and a lot of people I know in the online media, they are using whiteboard to build up concept, ask students to switch on their videos in between, ask questions, ask 2 groups of students, 2 different questions, have a debate, small group. This can happen after 20 minutes of your lecture or so, or after 15 minutes, you can have a poll coming up, live poll. Remember, live poll interests them. They have to click on that, and you will also know if your screen is showing participants are 150, only 50 are responding, you know what is happening. And remember, once or twice you do that, students know the teacher is looking for the students throughout. And you have something coming up after 15 minutes, which is interesting and relevant to that talk, then it can be useful.
Thank you, sir. There are a few more questions on assessment, but we have a separate session on assessment. But then in order to quench the food for thought, what are the different assessment strategies for online learning?
So formative assessment can continue because we have online lectures apart from that. I'm talking about now the experience of all the colleges and university we have with we are collaborating. They are continuing with the formative assessment, especially when you have a small groups. We have a case-based learning sessions on the online media, breaking them into groups. We have tutorials. We already had 2 to 3 hours test online. That is possible. We have done that. So for example, test what we do, WhatsApp, we send them, they open it up, they start, the time is given. If the time finishes on 12 noon, by 12:10, the PDF of their answer sheet should be with the assigned teacher. So there are a lot of innovations people are doing that. Google Documents you can use for assignments where you can mark also. So there are ways, lot of ways, but faculty need to invest a lot of time. I will say resources and time. So that speaks of a lot of expectations from the faculty.
Okay. Then there is one important question which would be a good learning experience for all of us. Has MCI directed the nodal centers on online faculty development training programs?
Yeah. So we have already shared that information with all the centers and the colleges. So they are given a freedom, flexibility is there based on how they want to get together on that day. We have some areas where the COVID load is very, very high. We know they will not like to sit physically closer to each other. Some of them in the high risk area. So they can sit separately with their own online media. But some of areas I know right now, COVID load is very less. Some of the hospitals, they get 1 or 2 patients only. There people are able to sit together. And even people who are other people observers, they can use videos to have observations on that. So all those has been put up, and we are starting in the June.
And there is another question. I cannot identify the person, but he says how to check or even take care of the unethical practices during the online assessments. A lot of questions on assessment.
Very difficult, very difficult. Till you have a system where the video is on for the entire duration of assessment. But remember the interruptions we got. Even suppose I am the student, I can switch off my video saying there's a technical issue, and nobody can actually detect that. In one of my sessions, I will see, I found a student sitting behind another student in a tutorial. He was lying down. Okay, so answers were coming there, but the audio is picked up from that. Remember that. So here I think the students, to make them understand they are mature, so their honesty and integrity comes into play. But even remember, even in the physical exams, people keep on doing these things. But we expect the students, especially in the medical field, there are less chances they will do. And if we make them understand why this is important.
There is another question by Dr. Parth. He says how to develop the IT cell in an institute, because maybe yesterday it was not a need of the institute to invest on information technology, but now it is the need of the hour. So how do we develop the IT cell?
So actually this is the opportunity. So you should actually convince your stakeholders to hire a good, first is lead person who can get a team who understands some of these. Most of the people who you will hire will not understand medical terms initially, because a lot of them continue for a longer time in the institution. Institutions have their own system developed. A lot of people are involved in that. So getting experienced people are not so easy. So get a guy, at least a lead guy who understand this and they can develop a team. But this is a opportunity, make them understand this is needed, because as a faculty and as a doctors, you cannot manage those systems. You will be, actually, I will say, wasting a lot of your resources, which you can use for the clinical work and the teaching, the doctors. Don't use them for managing the IT component.
Dr. Nirja writes, how effective is open book exam?
They are effective. Okay, so they are effective in a way. Remember, there are a lot of things students learn even when you don't assess them. So it is not that only the whatever you assess they learn. A lot of other things they learn, which are something even the part of hidden curriculum. So when you say open book, tell the students why this exam is being conducted like open book. Assessing the resources, we have seen even the open book and even tutorials, 3-hour exams, I am saying to that, even students are not able to perform so well. Overall percentage stays there only. You will remember after 1-2 exams. The dependency goes down after 1 or 2 open book tests. Initially, there's a hodgepodge in the first and second test, where students are trying to do everything, take advantage, but they understand in the third and fourth that this is not the way they are going to learn, and the whole efforts are going well. But making them understand is important.
Yes. Unless we try it out, we will not know how it works. Yes, yes, thank you very much. Then I can also see some queries on conducting the university exam. What could be the possibility?
Okay, a lot of universities have already come with the suggestions. So they are again, most of them have given a full freedom to the institutions. Okay, so if I talk of one guidelines, they say, okay, you can have an exam first, and based on the students' availability, if you have a theory exams, maybe open book or maybe video surveillance, one invigilator can have 20 students on one screen. That's easy, very easy. So you can go for that. Even normally, physically, we have one invigilator for 20 or 15 students. So that can be done. A lot of universities are already thinking about that. And coming to the practical and clinical aspects, when you are doing that, they have allowed externals to be, that rules have been relaxed from outside the university, outside the city. So that has been relaxed. And even if they do not want to travel, they can observe online. So those are the things which are coming up. In any way they want to complete the exams, any of the flexibility based on the feasibility in your area, that can be done.
Thank you, sir. Now, there is another question on, definitely we are going to use online learning even post-COVID, but what would be the percentage and how do you see it, the future of online learning post-COVID?
Yeah, this is something like what happens, you have given a new candy to the children. Right now they are amused at what is it, they are enjoying also, and they are taking it so much, maybe excess also. Remember that. Only thing is post-COVID, definitely there's no doubt, in the new normal, in the post-COVID era, online learning will be a component of normal curriculum. Lot of us were not aware of, we never tried, we never used, we had a lot of apprehensions. Then integrity, honesty coming into play. But you will see slowly and slowly after 2-3 classes, students are responding well. They're not worried about the attendance, they're worried about the class, learning something. So I know already some of the groups in various states, they are working. And their first agenda, which I was also involved in one of that. And slowly in our discussion, our first agenda has become make a policy for including online learning in the post-COVID era. So it is going to supplement the offline teaching, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
We are almost there. We are almost there. 2 more minutes remaining. So if anybody would like to ask, I can open for 1 or 2 questions. Please raise your hand or, okay, Dr. Haim there. Please go ahead.
Unmute. Okay, good. Dinesh sir, I had a question, like we were talking about summative exam. Here came a terminology of proctoring exam. So without proctoring, if we conduct clinical reasoning, testing using standardized patient and getting observed by two external observer and another observer probably from our university, will that exam be validated as, like doing long case, in traditional way? Can we validate that? If we can, then we have our practical exam pending for final year student, and we are thinking whether we conduct that exam and let them go work as intern, because we need more health professionals. So what's your take on this, sir?
So Dr. Haim, that's a very good
Yes,
question. Remember, this pandemic happens after 100 years or so. Extraordinary situations need extraordinary measures.
Yes, sir.
Right now, looking at all that situations, we are not much worried about that validation. If you look into that, we are going to have some compromises on authenticity of assessment. A lot of you have asked that. We talk about validity, reliability. Remember, feasibility, acceptability.
Yes, sir.
Education. Those components are become more important now. Remember that. So if you remember, number of times we talked. If you take validity up, reliability goes down. Feasibility now is a major issue. If you want to make them feasible, you want to conduct, maybe validity will go down, reliability. But that is the situation right now we are into that. So you adjust to that, those factors, and see what best you can do in the situations. That's why the flexibility is so much, sir, that it depends on area to area. So you should not use a guidelines for full state or a country, because number is very different. Situations are very different. But you are very right. There will be some limitations, but we have to live with that right now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That's really helpful.
Thank you very much, sir. We are almost reaching the time. I take this opportunity to thank Dinesh Padial, sir, for introducing us to online learning. Though we have just initiated the virtual platforms, and many of us are quite apprehensive on how to go about in the future now. We got insight on what are the different ways to engage our students, motivate our students, even equip ourselves in terms of making our classes interactive. With this, I thank the key resource person, the speakers who shared the best practices. Sorry, we could not share our result. Probably in the next webinar, we will equip ourselves better. We had, even the poll could not be shared because of the technical glitches. So it's always a learning experience. So probably we will have the online webinar next time, much better, much organized, and more systematic than this time. I thank you all the speakers and all the participants. To the maximum, I saw around 148 people who participated in this. So very soon we will be sharing the next date for the webinar 2, which is on the online learning platforms. We will be sharing the date and the link shortly. I thank Padial sir for sparing your time and being with us. Thank you very much for your guidance.
Thank you, Dr. Jyotsna and the team. This was a very brave and I will say very brave on the part of your team to go ahead and lead this webinar series. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Haim.